Hi, my name is Sylvie. I am a certified health coach and fitness trainer. And today's video, I decided to create another follow-along video that you can use if you want to work on your front split. I already have created two videos. They are a bit shorter. They're 15-minute long. This one is going to be 30-minute long, and it's going to include more tips that I have learned over the last 6 months or so since I created the first videos. I will leave a link in the description where you can get access to a blog post and more information, more tips to help you on your journey to the splits. I also have a new freebie on my website. It's a guide to stretching, and I'll leave the link in the description to that as well, because I think that'll be really helpful to get you started too. Now for this video, I recommend that you get yoga blocks. If you're going to be working on your splits, yoga blocks are essential in my opinion. I mean, you could get away with using books or something else, but it's definitely worth the investment. They're not really that expensive anyway. Another thing I do want to mention as well before we get started is that you see a lot of those get your splits in 30 days headlines. I'm going to tell you that's not going to happen. If you want to work on your splits, you have to give it time and be patient. It's going to take months of daily stretching, but it's a very rewarding activity and it's very relaxing. You can use it as a time to yourself. It's almost like a meditative time. So just make time daily to work on your splits. If you want to achieve your goal, start with 15 minutes a day. If you find it hard, at first you may feel that working on your splits is very uncomfortable and very demanding. And so when you are just starting, maybe 15 minutes a day is great. But as you get more flexible and it doesn't feel as painful, half an hour a day is a great idea. And that's why I'm sharing this video today. You can use this one maybe when you get a bit further along in your splits journey. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing here is working on your hamstrings, and you're just going to fold over like so. By the way, I like using music when I stretch. Maybe you can listen to me cueing a little bit, but really listening to music makes it even more relaxing and more enjoyable. So as you stretch your hamstring here and move down, you can use your blocks if you're not as flexible. If you don't have to use blocks, just put them aside. And make sure you are pushing your tailbone up. You're not like curving your back to reach closer, to make sure your chest reaches closer to your thighs. Instead, you are lifting up your tailbone. And you're going to breathe and move into it slightly. The way you want to stretch is you want to go past the point where it's comfortable a little bit, right? You push further and make yourself uncomfortable, but then you can ease again. You can also move your hips from side to side. With time, you'll learn to listen to your body and just do what feels good. So if you feel like moving from side to side feels good, or you want to just go further, deeper into your stretch, you can do that as well. All right, next we're going to go into the pyramid pose. So you're going to bring your left leg forward and your right leg back. Similarly, you have to make sure that you bring your tailbone up as you stretch. And you just gently bring your body forward. And again, if you need the blocks, if you're just starting, you can use the blocks to make sure that you're not curving your back, right? And that you're bringing your tailbone up. Just like so. In the same way we did when we were just folding over, you can move your hips from side to side. You can bring your back leg, move your back leg up and down. Just make sure you feel the stretch and that you get past that point where it's comfortable, right? You have to feel it, has to be a bit uncomfortable. Then you can release a little bit, then bring it back. How are you feeling? Now we're going to switch leg. Always make sure you focus on taking your tailbone up. Also, the leg that's forward, make sure you push that hip back. Keep it back and press down. Move your tailbone up. Move from side to side. If that's what feels good right now, you can do that as well. Okay, next, I'm gonna sit down. Take your left leg forward and then cross your right leg over the left leg and just fold your body, making sure that you're keeping your back straight. We're gonna do the same thing on the other leg. You can also bring your arms to one side, if that feels good, and then to the other side. Next, we're gonna take both legs forward. Stretch your hamstrings if you're not flexible enough to reach down like this, you can stay up, go as far as you can, keep your back straight. You have to feel the stretch. So it may look different for you, but the sensations will be the same. You have to feel the stretch in the back of your legs. Now we're going to do a bit more of a hamstring stretch standing again. So you're just going to fold over again, like we did here. If you can touch the ground, you may wonder why I was insisting that you need yoga blocks at this point. But you'll see when we stretch into the splits, that's when they're invaluable. Okay, so now we're going to stretch into your half splits. I'm going to take the right leg forward first this time. And you're just going to make sure that the back leg is at a 90-degree angle. Again, if you need to use a blocks, you're going to use a blocks like this. And you're going to keep your back straight and stretch your front leg. You're going to feel it in the back of the leg. You can use the blocks either way like this. Keep the stretch active too. You can ensure that you keep your hip back, you press your heel down. These things will help make the stretches more effective. And move in and out of the uncomfortable zone as you need to. Move your hips if you want to a little bit as well. You can always move your hip a little bit, just like that. Next, we're gonna do the other leg. Pressing my hip back and my heel down, moving from side to side. Also, you can use your breath. Don't forget to use your breath. And as you exhale, you can bring your body further into the stretch. You can also play with the side of your body. If you bring your arms on one side, the stretch feels different. And then if you take your hands to the other side, it changes it too. So you can play around with that as you need to. Now, let's move on to our back. If you can grab your toes like this, just grab your toes. If it's too difficult, you can bring your arms down and just take your leg as close to your body as you can. Again, you're going to be moving in closer, but then easing out a little bit. And ease out if you need to. You can feel the stretch as you move your toes, maybe closer to, now I'm using my right leg. So if I take my toes to my left shoulder, the stretch feels different. So you can play around with that as well. You can bring your toes to the middle and then to the right. See how that feels. And if you want to stay a little bit longer on one side because you feel it a little bit more, it's tighter, you can do that. And then you can go back to the middle. Okay, so now we're going to work on the other leg. Do the same thing. This is one of the harder stretches for me. I feel it a lot. You can always choose to stay in one of those stretches longer if you want to, obviously. But here I'm doing about 2 minutes per stretch. I find that's a good time, enough to really ease into the stretch and open up your body. Okay, so now we're going to use our blocks to stretch into the splits. Now, depending on where you are at on your splits journey, I mean, you may not even be able to make it that far. This is the highest height of the block, right? So you may not be able to sit on that. I'll show you what it looks like when you sit on it, and then I'll give you another option if you cannot do that. That's why I love using the blocks to stretch, because you can sit comfortably and really focus on your stretch without having to hold yourself up, right? So you can just sit, and if that's uncomfortable for you, you can work on your stretch right here. If you cannot make it at this height, if it's too low for you, you can just use your blocks to hold yourself up and go to wherever you can be, right? So if that's you right now, do that. That'll be harder because you can't sit into it. And since we're keeping the stretches for 2 minutes, you may struggle a little bit. You can always stay less or use the first videos I made. In the first videos I made, you don't have to spend 2 minutes into your splits. So again, the link is in the description if you want to look at those. But the advantage of using blocks is you really see your progress. So you may start at this height and then you'll be able to sit on that. And as you get more flexible, you'll move it to this side. And then you may even be able to sit here, just like that. And I actually found blocks that are even a bit thinner. So that will be your next level, right? So once this one, you don't feel it as much, you'll be able to sit on this one. And now let's get started. When you stretch into the splits, what you need to make sure that as much as possible, you keep your hip back again. So now I have the right leg forward and I'm making sure that my right hip is back. And keep your hips straight as much as possible. And keep your head high. You lift up through your upper body. You don't collapse down. You kind of lift up. And the blocks can also help with that. Right? You can use them. If it's too uncomfortable for a bit, you can ease out, then come back into your stretch. Some days you'll notice that you can stretch longer. It doesn't feel as uncomfortable. You can get lower than other days. So listen to your body. If you feel like today is harder, you can cut it short a little bit. If it's easier, stretch for a bit longer. I'm doing 2 minutes. That's another thing. You may be able to hold it for 30 seconds at a certain height, but 2 minutes is a lot harder, obviously, right? I'm gonna do the other side. Another thing that you'll notice is that you'll be able to get your splits really close to the ground much faster if you open up your hips. But we're not opening up our hips. We're learning to keep our hips forward. That's why you're bringing the leg that's in front of you, you're bringing that hip back and you're trying to keep your both hips square into the stretch as much as possible. Again, I'm gonna take my other block. Take that down a bit. I find also when the stretch is really uncomfortable, like if you're working on your splits right now and it feels uncomfortable and you want to stop, sometimes your body, you feel uncomfortable, you want to stop, but looking at a timer helps you, right? Like you're so uncomfortable, you cannot stop thinking about how uncomfortable it is. But if you have a timer, you see there's only 20 seconds left, you can keep you can keep going and finish those 20 seconds. So if you find some of those stretches very uncomfortable, do that. Like use a timer as you follow along. I did those stretches for 2 minutes each, so put your timer for 2 minutes and then you'll know when you're gonna be done. And guess what? We're done with this leg now. So ease out slowly, carefully. And that's it. That's it for your splits routine. Do that every 2 days. I mean, I like to work on my front split one day and my side split the next. So I do this half-hour stretching routine every second day. And I've been really progressing. Getting pretty close to the ground. And it's such a nice relaxing time that I enjoy. So keep up with it. You'll get it, I can guarantee you.